The smartest investor in the world said that we may be heading into something worse than a recession. Ray Dalio is one of the most respected investors in the world. He actually built the largest hedge fund in history, Bridgewater. And recently, he said something that most people may have missed, and that's what caught my attention. He said that we might be heading into something worse than a recession. Now, I don't want to alarm you, and that's a big statement. So, in this video, I want to walk you through what it meant in plain English without any jargon and without any fear mongering. I want to give you a clear breakdown of what is happening according to Ray and what it could mean for you, because everything depends on this: your job, your work, your life, and your bank account. So let's start with the biggest concern, which is debt. Right now, the US government is spending more money than it brings in through taxes. We all know that. So, to cover that gap, it borrows money by issuing these government bonds, which we call treasury bills. Now, that's how we ended up in with over like 30 plus trillion dollars in national debt. That's how this happened. Now, here's where this gets a little tricky. Over $9 trillion of that debt is coming due soon, and which is what Trump is laser focused on. That means it either has to be paid back or refinanced, just like a mortgage in your house. So President Trump says that he wants to refinance this debt, and the idea is to lock in longer term rates while they're still manageable, just like refinancing your mortgage before rates rise again. That's why he's putting downward pressure on rates. So if this works, it could reduce a lot of pressure on the budget. But if interest rates stay high and we're forced to refinance those debts at higher rates, we'll now end up spending more on interest payments that we can't already afford. It's like trying to keep a business running, but all your cash is going towards paying back loan payments instead of actually growing your business. Now, this is why Ray Dalio is concerned. He says that if we don't manage this well, we will risk weakening the value of money. He talks a lot about the value of money, which is inflation, and putting more strain on the economy. And that's what you have to know. We got a bunch of debt. It's expensive for us. And if we don't manage this, it's going to be bad. That's kind of big part number one. Here's part number two. The second concern is what he's calling this internal division. Dalio says one of the most dangerous trends in how divided the country has become. People are arguing more than they are solving, which we're seeing. We're seeing in the headlines. It's triggering all of us just to talk about anything related to the government, not just politics. But because of that, it has generated discussions around money and values and what the country should even prioritize. It's like a team where no one can agree on the game plan, and the coach wants to do whatever the coach wants to do. Now, when that happens, nothing really moves forward except there's a lot of propaganda, right? So important issues like taxes or debt or healthcare, they all get stuck in this major debate, and every one of us has an opinion on it. Every one of us is triggered by it. And that's when leadership is kind of gridlocked, real problems get kind of worse behind the scenes. And that's what Ray Dalio is talking about, like the problem number two. So problem number one was debt. Problem number two is this internal division overall. All right, so let's talk about kind of like the third concern. The third concern is this. He talks about the shifting of global power. So as you all know, for a long time, the U.S. claimed to be the greatest country in the world. The U.S. has been the dominant global power. But that's starting to change. Countries like China are growing pretty fast, which is why we're having this trade war with them. And when a rising power challenges an existing power, it usually leads to some tension. And those don't always mean war, but it means trade war and disputes and competition over technology and pressure over global markets. And one person's jabbing this way and the other person's jabbing that way. And Ray Dalio calls this the change in the world order. If we don't play our cards right, we may not be the most dominant country in the world, at least America. And so it adds another layer of stress and uncertainty to this overall system, which is why he says, man, I'm really concerned about something more than a recession right now. So you have debt, you have this internal division, and then you have this changing of world power that's all happening, that we're seeing happen live in front of us. The fourth problem is like natural and global disruptions, is what Dalio says. And he says, things like pandemics and floods and wars and energy shocks, which are happening all over the place, just not in your news feeds. These are not just one-off events anymore, right? They seem to happen more and more often in much more close quarters. And when they do, they mess with our economy. Think about what happened during COVID. the supply chains broke down, the shipping slowed down. We couldn't get anything from Amazon. We couldn't get toilet paper. Stores ran out of basic things. And this wasn't just a health crisis, it was an economic crisis too. I know several businesses that were affected. Some of my businesses were affected too. And these kinds of disruptions are super, super hard to predict, but have like nasty ripple effects to the economy. So now you have this number 4, which is kind of these global issues and disruptions. But we've not even scratched the surface on what's happening with technology and the pace of technology. So number 5, in my notes that I wrote down, Ray talks about this pace of technological change that is now faster than any system can handle. So you talk about AI and automation and digital tools, all growing super quickly. But we don't even have any rules around them. We have no rules around crypto, which is why we have a crypto czar in David Sachs. We have no legal, financial, or even ethical rules around these new technologies. And AI tomorrow can turn around and do whatever it wants to do. Like, I'm not crazy. I actually use it. But this creates a gap. It's not that we need regulation. We need some kind of thinking around it. And these are just too early, which means some people and some businesses are going to adapt pretty quickly. I hope you do too and win big. And the others are going to really fall behind. It makes the future of jobs and industries and markets uncertain, which is why the markets don't know what to do, what industries are going to get disrupted. Amazon just said that close to 70% of the code that it's checking in and implementing are generated by AI. Like, think about that. AI writing the code that runs what is one of the largest businesses in the world. It's like upgrading software on a really old computer. Like, think about that. That's why things crash. You don't want to update software on a really old computer. The new iOS is not going to run on your iOS generation 1, and that's what we need to fix, right? So if you take a step back, Dalio isn't saying that the world is ending, but he's cautioning us. He's saying that this moment reminds him of a pattern that we've seen once before, in history before. Maybe you can guess what it is. Lots of debt, lots of division, global power shifting, disasters disrupting, and rapid change in infrastructure and technology without enough structure to handle it. And you know what that is? This is the 1930s, a time where many of these same forces were in play. This is where he says this might be worse than a normal recession because so many things are under pressure. Because it's not just one problem. It's a bunch of problems kind of sort of happening at the same time, which is the problem overall. So what can you do? Well, you can't fix the debt or you can't fix global politics, no matter how much you yell on Instagram or Facebook. But you can take simple steps to protect yourself. So here are 3 things that, kind of Dalio and other smart investors are saying that makes sense right now, which I'm kind of working on. First, it would be okay to keep some cash available, right? Don't put every dollar into super long-term investments unless you know what you're investing in. You got to have some access to cash that gives you options if and when things change suddenly. So that's option number 1. We call it dry powder. Option number 2, diversification is good, but you got to diversify where your money is going. But don't bet on one thing, not just stocks, not just real estate, not just one currency. Hard assets are good, but you got to spread it out, right? And that way, if one area gets hit, you're not wiped out. The pain is going to be if you're illiquid in this. So diversification probably matters in this case. I don't know where you would diversify because if things get hit, everything gets hit. We know that on the way up, everything benefits. On the way down, everything suffers. So what do you actually do? So being invested in the market, having some diversity is probably a good idea. And number 3 is you want to focus on things that have real value. That means if you had to choose between businesses or assets that people actually need, like housing or energy or infrastructure or food and services, that's probably better in a time like this, not betting on meme coins or meme stocks or meme trends or meme hypes right now. Real stuff kind of holds up better, at least for now, when the markets and things like this get uncertain. So that's kind of the broad thinking around here. So in the end, I wanted to give you this overall big picture because this isn't about fear per se. This is about being prepared. Dalio's been through these cycles before. Some of you and I have too. It's not about making predictions, but there are some patterns. We're crazy to not follow these patterns because history doesn't repeat itself often, but it does rhyme. And so if it rhymes, we should probably catch that rhyme. So when you see a pattern, hopefully you and I can make better choices. The goal here is to kind of stay a little steady, stay a little informed, and hopefully stay in control. So when I think about things like this, I always think about these 7 words that I use to guide my life and guide my businesses and guide my friends and guide my family. And here are these 7 words. I'll say them to you again. Work hard, be kind, and make more money. Catch you on the next one.